however, got a handful of games directly at launch, like Mario Kart 8. Super Mario Maker was a fun time. Not only did it give me a smorgasbord of Mario levels to play, but also served as an outlet to express my creativity, with homemade levels such as, oh, and what? I scooped up Super Mario Bros. Wonder at its launch.
Maybe I'm not a masochist after all!
Yeah, so this one was a no-brainer. The newest 2D Mario game? A game that looked like a marvel of creativity and charm during a time when 2D Mario platformers were the most watered-down things imaginable? Yeah, I'd really like to meet the guy that said, oh, no thanks, I think I'll pass on that. Joke's on me, because this is what that guy looks like. As if it needs to be said, Super Mario Bros. Wonder was, well, a wonderful game. Every now and then, a game comes out that's a pretty safe bet to pick up at launch. Like, it's content complete, no glaring issues, the series has a good track record. Yeah, I don't think anyone was disappointed by what they got out of this game at launch. Well, at least not anyone worth giving a damn about. Hey, even in these uncertain times, you can pretty much always count on Mario games to deliver the goods. So what does that mean for Super Mario RPG?
I'm a masochist.
Super Mario RPG for the Nintendo Switch. They're asking $60 for this, and they can't even afford to give the box art any color. You know, prior to this game's announcement, Mario RPGs weren't in a good place. The Paper Mario games ranged from divisive as hell to flat out abysmal. The Mario and Luigi games were seemingly dead, and despite Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars having a pretty loyal fandom, we were far from expecting a sequel. So when we got the announcement trailer for a full remake of that game in June of 2023 in the same Nintendo Direct as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, reactions were through the roof.
Gonna have to get that fixed.
Hey, they didn't have to sell me on this game for me to know I wanted it. The original Super Mario RPG on Super Nintendo was a childhood favorite of mine. I downloaded it on the Wii's Virtual Console back in the day and fell in love with the game's charming graphical style, humor, world, characters, all of which were pretty unique when compared to the Mario games I had played prior. The remake was honestly something I didn't know I wanted until it was announced. But really, it makes a ton of sense. Looking back, it's easy to see that Nintendo was looking to return to the roots of Mario RPGs, and if that was their goal, then remaking the game that started it all was the perfect way to reboot this subgenre of the franchise. Doesn't mean it's worth taking a bullet for.
Unless you're me!
Don't get me wrong, it's not that Super Mario RPG isn't worth $60, it just doesn't feel like it's worth $60. On one hand, it's Super Mario RPG. On the other hand, it's Super Mario RPG. If we're talking pros, this game looks absolutely wonderful. It may not be a visual marvel or anything, but it strikes a great balance between staying true to the original game's graphical style while still feeling like a fairly substantial upgrade. The game design's seen a bunch of modern improvements, such as better UI elements, new battle mechanics, fully animated cutscenes, amongst other additions like an easier difficulty setting and some post-game content, all of which are very nice. I don't think I'm stretching things when I say this is the definitive way to experience Super Mario RPG. The problem is, it still could have been the definitive way to experience Super Mario RPG while not making me go bankrupt. At the end of the day, this is still a Super Nintendo game. It's a really good one, but it still has that old school DNA that just holds it back from feeling like a brand new experience, even if you never played the original game. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not worth $60, but when you compare it to other games Nintendo sold at that price point, many of which were brand new, never before seen modern experiences, it's gonna make me raise an eyebrow. Especially when in the coming months, I would see this game get discounted as low as $30. Yeah, that's gonna sting. Even then, I still had a lot of fun playing through the game when it first came out. Hell, it was the first time I had actually beat the game in its entirety. But even with all the good times I got out of this game, this still was a pretty big wake-up call.
I should use soap when I bathe!
Well, lucky for me, I got the chance to demonstrate everything I had learned just a few months later. Nothing. I learned nothing. Mario vs. Donkey Kong for Nintendo Switch. Just what I needed in my life.
Oh, yes!
Another Mario remake, this one being of the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong released on the Game Boy Advance in 2004. Serving as a follow-up to Donkey Kong on the original Game Boy in 1994, Mario vs. Donkey Kong was a very well-made puzzle platformer in which you had to navigate your way through fairly small single-screen levels in order to grab the mini Mario toy at the end. Despite this game being pretty inoffensive, I don't think a lot of people look back at it with much fondness, mainly due to the games that followed. Just the same damn game over and over again, in which you guide a bunch of automated mini Mario toys to a goal, which in and of itself isn't anything terrible, but every damn game they released for this series was interchangeable with the others. It made every time someone heard the name Mario vs. Donkey Kong cause them to experience war flashbacks. Thankfully, this series got a well-needed hiatus until February of 2024, when we finally got a new entry in the series, an old one. Following Super Mario RPG, remakes and remasters in the Mario universe were just coming out left and right. We got Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and of course, this game. This damn game. Let me tell you something about this damn game.
I kinda like this damn game.
Alright, so Mario vs. Donkey Kong isn't anything to write home about, but I have a soft spot for it. At the time of this game's release, I was in the slums, man. I was up to my ears in schoolwork, I had a bunch of midterms coming up, and to top it all off, I had come down with a sickness. That sickness being buying every Nintendo game at launch. No, but in all seriousness, I was feeling pretty under the weather when this game came out and got delivered to my doorstep. And with all the stress I was going through, knowing I had a lot of work and exams I had to catch up on, this game was a shining beacon of joy. A game with which I could just sit down, turn my brain off, and I would finish that sentence, but like I said, I turn off my brain.
And it's been off ever since!
Yeah, just like I was saying with Pikmin 4, this game just came at the right time for me, man. Looking at it critically, it's good. This is a well-designed game. It was still a well-designed game on the Game Boy Advance, but hey, this version does improve things. The graphics, for one, are obviously better, as are a lot of the animations, music, and sound effects, but on top of all of that, this version adds some cool stuff, like a multiplayer mode, a whole new 2 worlds full of levels, and some quality of life improvements to the general gameplay. It's very similar to Super Mario RPG in terms of what it adds to the original, and hey, this version was a whole $10 cheaper than most of Nintendo's other retail releases. Wow, let's give them a round of applause. Yeah, $50 for this game, I still don't think that's really worth it. It's hard, man, because this game is pretty damn flawless in the sense that it pretty much does exactly what it sets out to do. Like, yeah, the level design isn't anything crazy, neither is the general gameplay, neither is the soundtrack, neither is the length of the game, but like, that's okay? Do you really think they made this game with the goal of changing the world? This game is a perfectly acceptable package, and if you like puzzle platformers, I think it's a pretty good one. I guess it's a little too easy, maybe too short, a little too simplistic, but honestly, I feel like these are just nitpicks. Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a good game. However, this game, in my opinion, is not a $50 experience. $20 to $30, sure. $40, maybe. But $50? You know what else you can buy with $50?
Damn.
I just don't think this game offers enough for that price. And that's not even considering it's not even an original game. Whatever. At the end of the day, I still bought this game at launch. I know my place in history. Super Mario 3D All-Stars dropped on September 18th, 2020, and prior to this had been announced to be a limited time release, only being offered until the end of March 2021. Yeah, that's a great way to get people to buy your game at launch. Threaten them. Alright, so thankfully, this isn't something Nintendo or really any game companies do super often nowadays, but back in 2020, Nintendo was on a spree of putting out games that were poised as limited releases. They did this with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the online-only Battle Royale Super Mario Bros. 35, and of course, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, the latter two being released for Mario's 35th anniversary. Hey, there's a reason to offer a limited time product. If it's for a big celebration, if it was offered past the time of that celebration, it wouldn't feel as special. Yeah, sure, but that argument falls apart when you realize March of 2021 is past the time of that celebration. This wasn't done to make the release feel more special. This was to get a bunch of people in a panic that they weren't going to be able to find a copy of the game, so they would buy it on day one, or at the very least before the game had a chance to drop in price. And the reason why it was offered until March 31st is because that's right when Nintendo's fiscal year ends. That's right, I can see right through your dirty tactics, Nintendo. You can't take advantage of someone as smart as me.
I'm still holding the game, aren't I?
Hey, I knew I was going to want to get Super Mario 3D All-Stars at at some point anyway, so yeah, I just bought it at launch. I could have waited for a sale or got a used copy at the time, but I didn't care. I just wanted to play the game. I was willing to spend $60 for it on day one. I mean, could you blame me? This was a collection of 3 of the best Mario games of all time, and this was the first time Super Mario Sunshine had ever been re-released. This was a must-buy! And judging by sales, I guess a lot of people realized the same thing because, like, man. And I guess people double realized that after it had stopped being sold because, like, man. Didn't think this was going to become such a huge part of my estate, but here we are. Guess I gotta devote my life to taking care of this.
My future children are